Oh, you thought it was just another preseason drama? Just another loud sports take lost in the echo chamber? Think again. Because this moment, the eruption of noise, narratives, and national scrutiny surrounding Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns isn't just sports talk. It's the moment the Browns' facade started to crack. And it all boiled over the second Stephen A. Smith lit the fuse on national television. "This isn't sabotage," he said.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
This is reality. And for the Cleveland Browns, it might already be over. Boom. In one statement, one fiery, camera-ready, no-holds-barred declaration, Stephen A. took a torch to the entire Browns quarterback room, the coaching staff, the front office, and, according to sources, even got under the owner's skin. Because when he talks, people listen. Players listen. Agents listen. And more importantly, owners listen. And Jimmy Haslam? Oh, he's listening all right. He's listening and fuming. Let's rewind. Shedeur Sanders walked into the Browns organization surrounded by buzz, baggage, and bold expectations. He wasn't just a fifth-round pick. He was Deion's son, a college football phenomenon, a walking brand, a player whose media shadow was longer than most rookies' careers. And that, in Cleveland? That's a spotlight this team has never handled well. In the preseason matchup against the Rams, the Browns had a real opportunity to let Shedeur show what he could do. Instead, they threw him to the wolves. He completed 3 of 6 passes, got sacked 5 times, barely had time to breathe, let alone read a defense. His stat line was forgettable, but the setup was unforgivable. So naturally, the avalanche came crashing down. Fans screamed sabotage. Former players raised eyebrows. Sports media rolled out the red carpet for hot takes. And then, Stephen A. Smith took the stage. But here's where things get spicy. Because while Stephen A. didn't accuse Stefanski of sabotage, he delivered something far more damning, brutal truth. "It's not sabotage," he said. "It's mismanagement. It's confusion. It's lack of vision. And if the Browns think they can survive another year of quarterback chaos, they're out of their minds." And with that, the internet exploded. Because while the debate raged, was Stefanski being biased or just sticking to his system, Stephen A. cut through the noise. The real issue wasn't just about Shedeur. It was about Cleveland's culture. A franchise that time and time again cannot decide who they are or what they want. It was about the fact that Shedeur's name, image, and story were bigger than the position they drafted him into. About the uncomfortable truth that he wasn't just a fifth-rounder, he was a national storyline, and the Browns had no clue how to handle that. And Jimmy Haslam? Reportedly furious. Because when the national media starts painting your organization as unstable again, it doesn't matter who's under center. It means your house isn't just divided, it's on fire. And this time, the flames aren't coming from the fans. They're coming from inside. Let's talk about perception. On paper, Shedeur Sanders is a developmental quarterback. 5th-round pick. Talented, but raw. That's how the Browns saw him, or at least say they saw him. But that narrative gets complicated when you look at how different quarterbacks were treated in that same game. Dillon Gabriel got more time, better protection, cleaner play calling, and more support on the sideline. Meanwhile, Shedeur was left scrambling behind a makeshift line, then benched before he had a chance to recover. Was it bias? Was it strategy? Stephen A. doesn't think it was sabotage, but he does think it's a disaster. Because no matter how you spin it, the result is the same. Shedeur's development is stalled, the locker room is confused, and the media has all the ammo it needs to paint the Browns, again, as an organization that can't get out of its own way. And that's where it really starts to sting for Haslam. Because this isn't the first time the Browns have been called directionless. This isn't the first time a potential franchise quarterback has been mishandled. But with Shedeur, the spotlight is blinding. And with Stephen A. pointing directly at the dysfunction, the narrative gets locked in. Let's not forget, this is the same organization that went all in on Deshaun Watson and is still waiting to see if that gamble pays off. The same organization that cycled through 30-plus quarterbacks in the last 2 decades. The same team that finally had an opportunity to develop a young, dynamic QB under manageable expectations and turned it into a mess. And now, the national conversation is no longer about if Shedeur can make it. It's about if the Browns are capable of letting anyone succeed at all. Because while RC, Ryan Clark, and others tried to cool things down, calling the sabotage narrative lazy and immature, even they couldn't deny what was happening. The situation is bad. The vibes are off. And the tension between expectation and reality is palpable. RC made the point that Shedeur had to be so much better than everyone else to force the staff's hand. And guess what? That's not development. That's survival. And when a player is set up to survive instead of succeed, that's a broken environment. So where does that leave us? It leaves the Browns at a crossroads. Again, Kevin Stefanski is being backed, for now, publicly. The organization's messaging is all about fairness, process, and depth charts. But behind the scenes, that support is crumbling. You can feel the tremors. Because Haslam doesn't just want to win. He wants relevance. And Shedeur Sanders brings both, if given the chance. But instead, Stefanski is trying to fold Sanders into a system that wasn't designed for him, and clearly wasn't meant to elevate him. And as Stephen A. put it, if you're not building for the future, what are you building? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe even the multi-million-dollar contract question. Because if this isn't the beginning of Shedeur's time in Cleveland, it could be the end. And not just for him. If Stefanski can't figure this out, and fast, he won't survive the season. Because owners don't like losing battles. And they really don't like being embarrassed on national TV by the loudest voice in sports media. Especially when he might be right. So now all eyes are on the Browns, not just in Cleveland, but across the league. Will they keep downplaying Shedeur's potential and watching the fan base turn? Or will they course correct, admit mistakes, and give this kid a real shot to prove what he can do? The clock is ticking. The cameras are rolling. And Stephen E.'s already drawn the battle lines. Because for the Cleveland Browns, it's not just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. It's about the soul of the franchise. Comment your thoughts below. Did Stephen A. get it right? Is the Browns-Shedeur situation fixable? Or is this just another sad chapter in Cleveland's quarterback curse? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Because this saga? Oh, it's far from over. And just like that, the Cleveland Browns find themselves right back where they always seem to end up. Center stage in a national drama they created, starring a young quarterback they're misusing, and a coach whose leadership is being questioned by everybody except the people signing his checks. This isn't just another preseason controversy. This is something else. Something louder. More exposed. More dangerous. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the rumble building beneath the surface. Because this time, the fans aren't waiting for the regular season to start pointing fingers. They're already done. And Jimmy Haslam? Yeah, he's feeling the pressure now. Because when Stephen A. Smith takes to national television and essentially declares your franchise's credibility dead on arrival, you don't just brush that off. You don't sweep it under the rug with a "we'll evaluate the tape" and a couple of stale sound bites from Kevin Stefanski. No, when Stephen A. says it's over for the Browns, that lights a match. And Haslam knows it. Because this isn't just about one rough preseason game or a few sacks. This is about perception, optics. And when the optics show your team burying a high-profile rookie behind a cardboard offensive line while giving better looks to quarterbacks with less talent, people talk. When your head coach shows more faith in a clipboard than a kid who could be your future, people talk. And when that kid just so happens to be Shedeur Sanders, son of Dion, face of a new generation of athletes, brand magnet, culture shifter, ratings machine, they don't just talk. They rage. And now, Jimmy Haslam finds himself stuck between a coach who refuses to adjust and a media storm that's threatening to burn the whole quarterback room down. You don't think he's watching those ESPN segments? You don't think he's seen the clips flying around Twitter and TikTok with side-by-side comparisons of how Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel were treated on the exact same field? Because we have. And it's not pretty. Shedeur wasn't just sacked 5 times. He was isolated. Left in the pocket like a target. You could practically see it unfolding in slow motion, the pocket collapsing, the protection breaking, and Stefanski just standing there. No urgency, no support, just clipboard scribbling and headset mumbling, while the rookie, with all the promise in the world, got eaten alive. And here's the part that makes it all feel so calculated. He didn't get a second chance. No bounce-back drive. No redemption series. Just a quiet benching and a vague explanation later. We wanted to get a look at other guys. Other guys? You drafted Deion Sanders' son, and the takeaway, after 6 pass attempts behind a broken line, is that you need to see more from a third stringer? Come on. That's not development. That's dismissal. That's writing someone off before the ink on the playbook has even dried. Stephen A. might not have used the word sabotage, but he didn't need to. The message was clear. The Browns are fumbling the future again. Not because they don't have talent, but because they don't know what to do with it. And once that narrative hits, it's sticky. It spreads. It spirals. Because what's the one thing the Browns could never seem to escape? Quarterback dysfunction. And now, here they are again. Only this time, the dysfunction isn't about lack of talent. It's about refusing to believe in it. It's about Kevin Stefanski making it clear that if Shedeur Sanders is going to earn a place in this offense, he has to vastly outperform everyone else on the depth chart just to be considered. That's not a fair shot. That's a stacked deck. And when you stack the deck against a quarterback this visible, this hyped, this beloved, people notice. The locker room notices. The fan base notices. The media definitely notices. And before you know it, the situation becomes too loud to contain. Now here's where it really starts to snowball. Because Stephen A. didn't just critique the coaching staff. He pointed to the systemic flaws in Cleveland's entire culture. And he's right. This isn't a Shedeur problem. This is a Browns problem. It's a pattern. Talented players come in with promise and leave broken, benched, or buried. Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield. Now Shedeur's name is hovering in that same sentence. And it shouldn't be. Because what Shedeur's going through isn't a football problem. It's an organizational identity crisis. A team that can't decide if it wants to rebuild, win now, or just stay mediocre forever. 1 minute, you're selling hope. The next, you're running vanilla plays in the red zone and blaming the rookie for not doing magic tricks. And while all this unfolds, Kevin Stefanski sits in press conferences talking about rotation plans and evaluations, as if we can't see what's going on. As if we didn't just watch him call safer plays for quarterbacks with less upside. As if we didn't watch Shedeur's debut be sabotaged by mismanaged game flow and a lack of support. As if we don't know exactly what this looks like. Stephen A. knows. RC knows. Kurt Warner called it out. Hell, even analysts who like Stefanski are asking hard questions now. And Jimmy Haslam? He can only keep dodging accountability for so long. Because eventually, when the team starts the season 1-3 or 2-5 and fans start chanting Shedeur's name from the cheap seats, it's going to be obvious who dropped the ball. And here's the real kicker. If Shedeur gets traded, if some other team picks him up and actually gives him a system that works, a coach who believes in him, and a fan base ready to ride, it's over. Not for Shedeur. He'll be fine. He'll flourish. He'll become the guy on another roster and probably torch the Browns the first chance he gets. But for Stefanski? For this front office? For the trust the process crowd that keeps watching the same story unfold every year? That's the final nail. Because once Shedeur leaves and thrives, the Browns will never escape the regret. The what if. The haunting, self-inflicted wound of letting a generational talent walk because you couldn't set your ego aside long enough to support him. And if Haslam wants to avoid that fate, he's got 2 choices. 1. Demand Stefanski change course now. Publicly support Shedeur. Give him more reps, more leash, more opportunity. Treat him like a priority, not a problem. Or 2. Fire Stefanski before the damage is permanent. Because if this continues, if they keep playing this game of wait and see, while media giants like Stephen A. Smith torch the franchise's reputation every morning on national television, then yeah, it really is over. And this time, it won't be because of the quarterback. It'll be Because of the coach. Let us know what you think. Did Stephen A. go too far, or did he finally say what Browns fans have been screaming for weeks? Is this coaching malpractice, or is Shedeur just paying his dues? And here we are, still talking about it. Still watching it unravel. Still wondering how in the world a franchise with this much money, this much media attention, and this much potential continues to trip over its own shoelaces like it's some twisted tradition. But this isn't just another Browns blunder. This is Shakespearean. This is the slow, painful, jaw-clenching fall of a team that had a future, and maybe letting it die right in front of our eyes. Because Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a fifth-round pick. He was a statement. He was a signal, a spark, a new energy for a franchise so used to failure. The fan base barely knows what to do with hope anymore. Shedeur was different, is different. But instead of leaning into that difference, what do the Browns do? They snuff it out. And now everyone, from fans to media to former players to national talk show hosts, is watching this circus unfold and asking the same question. Why are the Cleveland Browns so afraid of their own future? Let's really sit with that. Let's unpack why this situation isn't just frustrating, it's tragic. Because Shedeur, despite all the scrutiny, despite all the noise that comes with being Deion Sanders' son, showed up in Cleveland with one goal: to work, to earn it, to prove he belonged, not just as a media darling or a jersey seller, but as a quarterback, a leader, a winner. And what did he get? He got thrown behind a broken offensive line, handed a vanilla playbook, given 6 pass attempts, sacked 5 times, and benched. Then the coach went to the podium and pretended that was all part of the plan. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel is getting clean pockets and rollout plays. Tyler Huntley is being protected like a priceless heirloom. And Shedeur? Treated like an afterthought. No extra reps, no adjustment, no real public backing from Stefanski. Just silence. And in the vacuum of that silence, the media storm has grown louder. Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, Ryan Clark, Kurt Warner. They're all chiming in. Some defending Stefanski, others criticizing the play calls, but all of them agreeing on one thing. This isn't how you develop a quarterback. This isn't how you build around your investment. And it's definitely not how you treat a player with this kind of upside. Because here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Shedeur has a ceiling that scares people. Why? Because he's smart. He's marketable. He's composed. He doesn't just have talent. He has presence. That intangible star quality that makes locker rooms believe and fan bases show up. So maybe it's not that Stefanski doesn't believe in Shedeur. Maybe it's that he doesn't know what to do with someone who doesn't need him. And that's where the narrative starts to shift. Because if this were just about performance, we'd be having a different conversation. But we all saw what Shedeur did in college. We've seen the flashes in preseason. Even under pressure, even under duress, he stays cool. He keeps his eyes downfield. He wants to lead. So the question isn't can he play? It's why won't they let him? That's what has fans so angry. Not that he's not starting. Not that he's not being crowned the savior. But that he's not even being considered. He's being talked around. Strategized out of the plan. Politely benched in press conferences. And when Stephen A. said, "It's over," he didn't just mean for Shedeur. He meant for the illusion that the Browns have a system that works. That Stefanski is the guy to lead this team into the future. Because how can you build a future when you won't even look at it? Look around the league. Coaches are bending systems to fit their young QBs. Houston tailored its offense for C.J. Stroud. Chicago gave Justin Fields every excuse to succeed. Indianapolis put Anthony Richardson on the field the moment he could stand upright. Because those franchises understood, when you draft a young quarterback, you're not just picking a player. You're building a brand. And Shedeur already is a brand. A walking, talking, camera-ready, play-extending, locker-room-leading brand. And the Browns are benching that. And the owner? He's boiling. Jimmy Haslam didn't buy this team to watch another quarterback controversy go nuclear before week 1. He didn't sit back and greenlight that pick just to let Kevin Stefanski bury it behind coach speak and conservative play calling. Haslam is watching the Browns get dragged daily on every major sports network. Watching fans turn on Stefanski, watching attendance dip, watching the Browns turn into a punchline again. And that's what Stephen A.'s monologue really did. It put a mirror in front of the Browns' front office and said, "This is what you look like right now. You look scared. You look confused. You look like a team that doesn't know what it has. So what now?" Well, one thing's for sure. If Stefanski doesn't pivot, doesn't get Shedeur back on the field, doesn't at least try to feed him a fair shot in the next preseason game, it's not just the media that will turn on him. It'll be the players, the locker room, the fans, and maybe, finally, the front office. Because you can only mismanage a moment like this for so long before it owns you. This is more than just development. This is about momentum, about culture, about the Browns finally stepping into the future instead of hiding behind outdated schemes and safe decisions. And if they won't, if they continue to waste the one quarterback who could actually lead them into a new era, then yeah, Stephen A. was right. It's over. Not for Shedeur. He'll land on his feet. He's too good not to. Another team will snatch him up, give him a system that embraces him, and he'll shine. But for Cleveland, for this version of the Browns, it's done. The faith is gone. The trust is shattered. The coach is losing his grip. The owner's getting dragged. And the fans? They're watching it all burn. Again. So here's your moment, Cleveland. Decide who you want to be. Right now. Because if you wait too long, if you let this opportunity go the way of all the others, you won't just lose Shedeur Sanders. You'll lose everything he represented. Hope, potential, and a future you actually deserved.